This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning. Update on the newest out-of-control Los Angeles wildfire.
President Trump's January 6th pardons drawing continued reaction.
Some kind of government payout for what we endured.
I'm Clayton Neville.
A deadly school shooting in Nashville.
Fired multiple shots in the cafeteria of the school.
I'm Pamela Furr.
The family of a Border Patrol agent killed in Vermont says he worked at the Pentagon during 9/11. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The S&P 500 index touched a record high yesterday. More earnings reports coming today. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
President Trump is threatening to take action if Vladimir Putin does not negotiate over ending the war in Ukraine. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A new poll finds most Americans want action on border security. Jennifer King, Washington.
All ahead on America in the Morning. 50,000 Southern California residents are under evacuation orders as the Hughes fire rages out of control, growing to more than 8,000 acres in just a few hours, forcing the closure of Interstate 5 in Los Angeles. Lisa Dwyer reports rain expected this weekend cannot come soon enough.
Evacuations have been ordered for remote communities near a new wind-driven wildfire in the mountains north of Los Angeles. The Hughes fire broke out late Wednesday morning and quickly burned through hundreds of acres of trees and brush, sending up a huge plume of dark smoke. While there is another round of critical fire conditions across Southern California in effect through Thursday, the parched terrain could get some badly needed rain this weekend. But that's a mixed bag of good news. Even a small amount of precipitation could create new challenges like toxic ash runoff. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
President Trump's decision to pardon or commute the sentences of Americans convicted or charged in the January 6th Capitol riot is drawing both praise and backlash. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
President Trump was expected to pardon nonviolent January 6th rioters early in his presidency, but wide-ranging clemency granted on day one caught some off guard. A number of Republicans had previously said that violent rioters should not be let off the hook. Now, though,
everybody can describe this however they want. The president has the pardon and commutation authority. It's his decision, and I think what was made clear all along is that peaceful protests and people who engage in that should never be punished. There was a weaponization of the Justice Department. There was a weaponization of the events. The following, the prosecutions that happened after January 6th.
House Speaker Mike Johnson.
It was a terrible time and a terrible chapter in America's history. The president's made his decision. I don't second-guess those.
Stuart Rhodes leads the Oath Keepers militia and was convicted of sedition in the January 6th attack. He was on Capitol Hill days after his release, meeting with lawmakers. Rhodes told reporters that he was meeting about a separate case of a former Oath Keeper. Meanwhile, other convicted rioters reacting to this week's pardons.
They let us know that it was coming through representatives that are close to Trump, such as Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I was very comforted in that. However, until it actually happened, I was not certain.
Jenna Ryan's a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and spent a couple months in federal prison after she posted a video of her essentially storming the Capitol.
It has been very difficult. It turned my life upside down. And the damages are, I had to change my name. I had to close my company. I had to pretend like I was someone else in order to function in society. I was called by thousands of people. It was persecution like we're probably never going to see in America again.
Ryan told me the possibility of Trump inviting pardoned rioters to the Capitol gives her relief and hope.
I would love to be invited. Hopefully they will invite me there. That would be a beautiful day. I definitely think that I would be a good addition to that group because I was so much a part of it in the media and whatnot. But yeah, I feel in my heart there will come a day where we are honored and there will be a memorial. And I believe that there's going to be retribution or some kind of government payout for what we endured.
Some handling Trump's move different than others. A woman who once called herself the MAGA granny says she denied the pardon, saying, quote, "It was an insurrection," and insisting she won't be a part of rewriting history. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump has ordered all federal agencies to place any employees working on DEI to be put on paid administrative leave effective immediately. Trump's executive order aims to end diversity, equality, and inclusion programs in the federal government and affirmative action in federal contracting, barring the government from pushing contractors to diversify their workforce. While the federal government does not have a direct say over the private sector's diversity practices, it has wide purview over companies and organizations that depend on federal funding or have government contracts. DEI spending cuts, one of the priorities of DOGE, the new Department of Government Efficiency. When we return on America in the Morning, tragedy in Nashville. After these messages. America in the Morning continues. That next snowmaker is shaping up. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy with details. Matt?
A clipper system that spread snow through northern Minnesota into the northern Great Lakes will continue to produce snow first thing this morning through Michigan into Indiana and Ohio, with snow building eastward into western Pennsylvania into New York. This will produce a fresh covering of snow for many locations, leading to some slippery travel throughout the day. Behind this system in the northern plains, there will be some lingering flurries, but it will once again turn colder, with highs in parts of North Dakota and Minnesota only in the single digits, and teens as far south as northern Missouri into Illinois. This colder than average weather will continue through the rest of the central plains into the Tennessee Valley. Highs there will be in the 30s and 40s. And fortunately, it will turn a little bit warmer into the 40s and 50s along the Gulf Coast, allowing for some of the recent snow to melt. Both of these areas are generally 10 to 20 degrees below the historical average. For the rest of the eastern states, it'll be largely dry weather and not quite as cold, though some showers will continue across Florida for a good part of the day. And then farther west, we'll look at high pressure covering a good part of the west coast. This is going to provide sunshine for most of the west coast states, though some clouds will build along the northwest coast. And in Southern California, there will still be some fire dangers, with the Santa Ana winds remaining elevated through the day into tonight. Gusts in wind-prone areas will range from 40 to 60 miles per hour. It'll otherwise be dry, with some snow showers that develop late in the day in parts of Idaho and Montana. That's the weather across America. Cleveland, Ohio will have mainly cloudy skies today with a little snow and flurries, high up to 26. San Antonio, Texas will see plenty of sunshine and a high of 54. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. 2 students are dead, a third injured during a shooting inside Antioch High School in Nashville, Tennessee. Our Pamela Furr is in Nashville.
At 11:09 a.m., a person who has been identified as a 17-year-old, armed with a pistol, fired multiple shots in the cafeteria of the school before shooting and killing himself.
That's Metro Nashville Police spokesperson Don Aaron. As for a motive, Police Chief John Drake tells reporters,
there are some materials on the internet that we're looking at that's under the investigation on the initial stages.
Now, News Channel 5 in Nashville has found purported writings from the shooter, who is confirmed to be a student at that school. They found a layout of Antioch High School, photos of a handgun, a lockpicking kit, and cartridges to load the handgun. He reportedly wanted to live stream his attack. The writings are connected to a social media account that were posted before the shooting in the cafeteria. In one of his first sentences, the shooter wrote he was ashamed to be black. He also appeared to write anti-Semitic things and said he was inspired by Candace Owens, a conservative black pundit who lives in the Nashville area. Meanwhile, Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell was on the scene a few hours after the shooting.
We as a community will continue to rally to ensure that resources are available to those families who have been directly impacted by this incident, and certainly to the school community.
In Nashville, I'm Pamela Furr.
More is being learned about a Border Patrol agent shot to death by a German national during a traffic stop near the U.S.-Canadian border in Vermont. Following that investigation, correspondent Haya Panjwani.
The family of a Border Patrol agent killed in Vermont says he worked at the Pentagon during 9/11. A U.S. Border Patrol agent who was killed in Vermont during a traffic stop near the Canadian border was a military veteran who worked security duty at the Pentagon during the time of the September 11th attacks. Authorities are investigating the fatal shooting near Canada of David Mayland. The altercation also left a suspect dead and another injured. A German national in the country on what's called a current visa was killed, and an injured suspect was also taken into custody and is being treated at the hospital. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The airlines passing along higher costs to you, the flyer. So says one airline president. We'll have that and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Record day in the markets yesterday. Here's the Thursday report from CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after the S&P 500 index touched a new record high intraday yesterday. A lot of people have a fund for that index in their brokerage account or retirement account. It happened on strong earnings reports from names like Netflix, United Airlines, and Procter & Gamble. And tech shares had a great day. AI darling NVIDIA was up more than 4%.
The way you get to the old record highs in the S&P is to have the AI trade just kick back in again. The market seems back in gear. We did have a good downward reset in optimism that I think can be rebuilt or is being rebuilt from here.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. A warning about the U.S. consumer. Consumer spending makes up about 2/3 of the U.S. economy. A record number of people are only making the minimum payments on their credit cards right now, according to a new Philly Fed report. United Airlines shares popped on strong quarterly results. The CEO telling CNBC that plane tickets cost more because United is passing through its higher costs to passengers.
Most of the increases in our ticket prices are being driven by cost. And, my favorite example now is airport cost. And it now costs $48 on average per customer just for airport fees at the three major New York airports. And we have that kind of escalation in costs. And we have a couple of $1 billion we estimate in costs last year from air traffic control delays. Those are costs that wind up as pass-throughs.
United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby on CNBC. Samsung revealed its new smartphones, the Galaxy S25 series with more AI features. The company is getting ready to pounce as Apple's new iPhones with AI seem to falter. Netflix just raised prices again after it raised them last October, and one analyst tells CNBC, get ready for more increases. He predicts Netflix will keep raising them because people who are paying for the more expensive tiers will just downgrade and stay with the service, and others will just pay because they spend so much time watching every day.
2 hours a day per household, and a price point that is still well below that benchmark that is the bundle. We think they still have pricing power. The introduction of advertising is a way for consumers to compensate, and we think that they will continue to have pricing power. Right now, it's going to be about digesting these price increases that they just announced.
Guggenheim's Michael Morris on CNBC. On today's watch list, earnings are coming from GE Aerospace, American Airlines, Alaska Air, and Texas Instruments. We find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week. Opening bids are due today in the sale of the Boston Celtics, and the Academy Award nominations will be announced this morning.
We'll be listening for that. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. What to do about immigration enforcement. Results of a new poll when America in the Morning returns after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. President Trump threatened to end their war with Ukraine, but the penalties he's putting forward likely wouldn't impact the Russian economy. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
President Trump is threatening to take action against Russia if Vladimir Putin does not negotiate over ending the war in Ukraine, but that may not have much effect on the Kremlin. Asked if he'd consider more sanctions on Russia if Putin does not agree on talks.
Sounds likely.
The president hours later called for Putin to stop this ridiculous war and warned if there's no deal soon, he'd put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything sold by Russia to the U.S. That may not matter much to Moscow. Virtually all Russian products are already banned from coming into America, and Putin's nation is one of the world's most heavily sanctioned. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Opinions seem to vary when it comes to immigration enforcement, but not when the topic is border security. Correspondent Jennifer King reports on the latest findings of an Associated Press poll.
A new poll finds most Americans want action on border security and support deportations of violent criminals, but respondents are evenly divided on mass roundups of people who are in the country illegally. That's according to the latest survey from the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs Research. Conducted before news that the Trump Justice Department is directing prosecutors to investigate state or local officials who stand in the way of deportation enforcement. The vast majority of U.S. adults think police in their community should cooperate with federal immigration authorities, at least in some cases, but 6 out of 10 oppose immigration arrests at schools and churches, and only 3 in 10 favor changing the Constitution to deny so-called birthright citizenship. Jennifer King, Washington.
America in the Morning for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour, death toll climbs from the Deep South's snow and deep freeze. Trump and the GOP Congress work to pass his agenda.
Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes has visited Capitol Hill after President Donald Trump commuted his prison sentence. Hayap Anjwani, Washington.
A bill surrounding immigration headed for President Trump's desk. I'm Clayton Neville.
More troops heading to the southern border and an apology demanded over a sermon. We'll have details.
Samsung unpacked their latest AI-enhanced phones. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
A celebrity's response to a man-on-the-street interview may surprise you. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning, a check on increased fire danger and the nation's forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
High pressure will cover a good part of the West Coast, and this is going to lead to plenty of sunshine for most of the West Coast states, though some clouds will build along the northwest coast. In Southern California, the fire dangers will continue with Santa and the winds remaining elevated through the day and continuing tonight. Gusts in the wind-prone areas will range from 40 to 60 miles per hour. It will otherwise remain largely dry with some snow showers developing late in the day into tonight in parts of Idaho and Montana as a cold front dips southward into the region. Afternoon temperatures will range from the 30s and 40s in the north and warming to the 70s and even a few 80s in Southern California into Arizona. A clipper system that spread snow to northern Minnesota and the northern Great Lakes yesterday will continue eastward through southern Canada, though very close to the U.S. border. This is going to continue to produce snow first thing this morning through Michigan into Indiana and Ohio, and then building eastward into western Pennsylvania and New York. And this will produce a fresh covering of snow for many areas, leading to slippery travel throughout the day. Behind this system in the northern plains, there'll be some lingering flurries, but it is going to be turning colder again with highs in parts of North Dakota and Minnesota only in the single digits and teens as far south as northern Missouri into Illinois. This colder than average weather will continue through the rest of the Central Plains into the Tennessee Valley with highs in the 30s and 40s. And fortunately, it will warm into the 40s and 50s along the Gulf Coast, allowing for some of the recent snow to melt. Both of these areas are generally 10 to 20 degrees below the historical average. For the rest of the eastern states, it will be largely dry and not quite as cold, and some showers will continue across Florida for a good part of the day. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. More on that snowstorm in the Deep South, being called the worst winter storm in 120 years as a blizzard has blasted the Gulf Coast states from East Texas to northern Florida. And it's turned deadly with at least 10 people who've lost their lives due to the frigid temperatures. Correspondent Julie Walker reports the historic storm, for some trying to make the best of it, has become a winter wonderland.
Cheers from Florida State University students in Tallahassee as snow began to fall in the Sunshine State for the first time since 1989.
So excited!
I'm so excited.
I didn't think it was going to actually happen. So
I mean, everyone was saying it, but the fact that it's snowing right now in Florida, it doesn't feel real.
No, it doesn't feel real at all.
It's crazy.
In Brunswick, Georgia, Terry Frazier was using one of those plastic store cards to scrape snow off her car windshield.
Actually, it's not too bad, other than the fact that the ice storm.
In Houston, Texas, and Montgomery, Alabama, kids were using pool floats, laundry baskets, and good old cardboard to go sledding. And in New Orleans,
Y'all come on in. We got the heater blasters.
Sydney Gisclair made it to work at a Bourbon Street restaurant by walking.
This is incredible. This is fun. I mean, I'm having snowball fights with coworkers and strangers on the street. Because everybody's enjoying it. Everybody's having fun.
10 inches of snow fell in parts of New Orleans where it had been more than a decade since snow last fell.
In Australia, we don't get much snow at all. And just to see this much snow, it is quite a treat. It's something that we probably will never get to see again. Even in our snowy mountains, we don't get snow like this.
I'm Julie Walker.
While snowball fights and sledding is the good news for many in the area, it's also created a bit of history. Louisiana had their first ever blizzard warning after 8 to 10 inches blanketed the greater New Orleans area, shattering their all-time high of 2 inches of snow. It's been the largest snowfall ever for the Florida Panhandle and southern Alabama, where more than 7 inches fell in Pensacola and Mobile. A number of interstate highways in Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana remain closed due to hundreds of accidents. Houston had its biggest one-day snowfall since 1949. At the airports, nearly 4,000 flights have been canceled in the past 48 hours due to weather. America in the Morning continues. President Trump is meeting with more Republicans through the week as the GOP enacts his agenda. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, appearing on Fox News with Sean Hannity, says the GOP must make budget cuts that will support the American people.
Then you're going to cut the Department of Education and block grant money to the states at a lower rate. You're willing to take that stand and risk re-election?
Yeah. Well, because it's going to do right by the American people, and they will see the results of that. I mean, we are the party of limited government. We want to scale down the size and scope of government. It's too big. It does too many things. It does almost nothing well. And Elon is coming to recognize that. But we've been talking about this for a long, long time.
Republicans now control both the White House and Congress, but with thin majorities on Capitol Hill and disagreements on the path forward, the president's been inviting members to the White House.
We are working very closely in close coordination with the White House because this is an America First agenda that takes both of those branches of government to work in tandem. And so what he's doing is kickstarting what will ultimately be our legislative agenda.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says the president will also address GOP lawmakers at their Florida retreat next week, championing his young administration's early moves.
He's done more in the last 48 hours for the American people than Joe Biden did in 4 years.
But from Democrats like Ted Lieu in the House,
none of them lower the price of eggs. This doesn't lower the price of eggs, and it's massively disrespectful. So hopefully we will not get any more executive orders like this.
To Mark Warner in the Senate.
Trump got hired because he thought he was going to help bring grocery prices down.
Warner says the Trump honeymoon may be even shorter than he expected when people see the administration's not delivering for them as promised.
It's going to be a wild couple weeks.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
Pardoned by President Trump, one of the people found guilty, serving a sentence of 18 years for seditious conspiracy from his actions on January 6, 2021, was back on Capitol Hill. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes, the far-right extremist group leader convicted of seditious conspiracy in the January 6, 2021 attack, has visited Capitol Hill after President Donald Trump commuted his 18-year prison sentence.
First Amendment, free speech.
Right.
It is disrespectful.
No, it's not.
Are you in
official capacity with the Integrity Office here at
Nope, I'm just
Okay, so you have a right to express your opinion and I have a right to carry on.
no standing here except I work here. And
I used to work here too.
Can you identify yourself? I don't want to be part of the
It doesn't
story.
matter.
I just want to express that.
Okay, that's fine.
Please tell your story elsewhere. Here
I'm
is
gonna-
just,
I'm right to free
it's
speech.
disrespectful.
Rhodes was convicted in one of the most serious cases brought by the Justice Department over the riot that left more than 100 police officers injured. Rhodes's appearance came the day after he was released from prison as a result of Trump's order of clemency, benefiting the more than 1,500 people charged with federal crimes in the January 6th attack.
I was commanding my guys. If my guys screwed up, if I'd have been with them, I'd have said, don't go inside the Capitol. But I don't believe they committed any crimes, at most trespass.
Meanwhile, the Proud Boys' former top leader, Enrique Tarrio, and 3 of his lieutenants were also convicted of seditious conspiracy in the attack. Tarrio was serving a 22-year prison sentence, the longest of any Capitol riot case, before Trump pardoned him. He came home to cheers when he landed at a Miami airport. Hayap Anjwani, Washington.
Trump demands apology from Episcopal bishop when America in the Morning continues after these messages. I'm John Trout. This is America in the Morning. The Defense Department has ordered 1,500 additional active duty troops to the border with Mexico just 2 days after President Trump signed an executive order on immigration. The additional troops include 500 Marines as well as Army helicopter crews and intelligence analysts. They'll join 2,200 active duty troops and thousands of National Guard that were on the border prior to Trump's inauguration this week. Reuters is reporting that there have been discussions to send as many as 10,000 additional troops to the southern border over time. One of the jobs of the military will be to provide flights for Department of Homeland Security-led deportations of more than 5,000 immigrants currently detained by U.S. authorities in El Paso, Texas, and San Diego, California. On Capitol Hill, the GOP-led House voted on the Laken-Riley Act, which could soon head to President Trump's desk. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The Laken-Riley Act, if it becomes law, would require the detention of migrants accused of crimes like burglary, shoplifting, or theft. It's named in recognition of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, who was killed by a Venezuelan migrant arrested for shoplifting and released on parole before Riley's killing.
In this vote, the yeas are 263 and the nays are 156. The bill passed. And without objection, the motion to reconsider laid on the table.
Immigration a top priority for Republicans.
When we don't control our border, the Mexican drug cartel will, and this bill is an important step in shutting down and securing the lawlessness at our border.
Congresswoman Laurel Lee spoke with Fox News about the vote.
This is not a crisis of numbers. It is a crisis of people, of lives of Americans that have been lost at the hands of these criminal aliens.
President Trump is expected to sign the legislation in what's being considered his first legislative victory in his second term. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump is demanding an apology from the Episcopal Bishop of Washington for what she said during her sermon, which included compassion and mercy for immigrants and members of the LGBTQ community, which some have said went too far. With the latest on the flap, here's correspondent Sue Aller.
She asked for mercy for immigrants and those who are LGBTQ during her sermon at President Trump's inauguration prayer service.
The vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities.
Now the president wants an apology from Episcopal Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd. Trump criticized her remarks as nasty and ungracious, and he felt that she brought her church into politics inappropriately. This is what he had to say immediately after the sermon.
Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no.
they can do much better.
During an interview with CNN, Bishop Budd said she is okay with President Trump's response.
It was a respectful response. He didn't like it. He said so. He said we could do better. Some of the other comments I've received haven't been as kind.
Georgia Representative Mike Collins has called for Bishop Budd to be added to the deportation list following her critical remarks. However, Budd is a U.S. citizen, so deportation is not possible. Budd also went on The View to say that she is standing firm in her convictions and will not shy away from speaking out on important issues. I'm Sue Aller.
President Trump is looking for more U.S. investments from Saudi Arabia, and that could materialize. Fox News is reporting that Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman told the president in a phone call the kingdom plans to put together $600 billion into new investments and trade with the U.S. over the next 4 years. During his first term, President Trump built close ties with Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states, which later led to a Saudi Arabia investment of $2 billion in a firm created by Trump's son-in-law and former aide Jared Kushner after Trump had left office. Samsung unveils their latest upgrades to smart AI phones at the annual Unpacked event with some impressive new features. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech News.
Samsung unveiled their latest update to the Galaxy S series phones at the Samsung Unpacked event, and to no one's surprise, AI plays a major role. The 3 updates to the Galaxy S25 and S25 Plus start at $799 and $999 respectively, while the S25 Ultra is a whopping $1299, but only for the entry-level configuration. Samsung was faster out of the gate than Apple in launching an AI-powered smartphone, but has failed to regain top billing in the smartphone market. Park Ji-soon, executive vice president who leads Samsung's language AI team, told Reuters that we are one step ahead of the industry in terms of offering AI features, and I believe we're going in the right direction. Additional new software features will include customized news items, calendars, and bedroom air temperature and carbon dioxide levels, and also features Samsung's new upgraded in-house voice assistant called Bixby. For more tech news, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Let's get a check of sports this Thursday. Here's Robert Workman.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander poured in a career-high 54 points to lead the Thunder over the Jazz 123-114 last night. The leading scorer in the association hit 17 field goals and 17 of 18 free throws to beat his previous best of 45 points. OKC now tied with Cleveland for the best record in the NBA. The Rockets nipped the Cavaliers 109-108. Celtics held off the Clippers 117-113 in overtime. Timberwolves tipped the Mavericks 115-114. DeMar DeRozan had 32 points as the Kings whipped the Warriors 123-117. Wins for the Suns, Pistons, and Grizzlies. NHL, the Blue Jackets blasted the Maple Leafs 5-1. Adam Fantilli posted his first career hat trick. Devils drubbed the Bruins 5-1. Jets edged the Avalanche 3-2 in overtime. Winnipeg with the best record in the West, and the Kings got by the Panthers 2-1. NFL, the Jets hired Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their new head coach 31 years after New York chose him in the first round of the NFL draft. Glenn made 3 Pro Bowls in his 15-year playing career, 2 of those in the 8 years he spent in the Jets' defensive backfield. Australian Open semifinals today. The women on the court this morning, including American Madison Keys against 2-seed Iga Swiatek. Tonight it's the men's semis. Ben Shelton representing the USA against top seed Jannik Sinner. He and women's number 1 Aryna Sabalenka both looking to repeat as champions down under. And in soccer, the U.S. men blanked Costa Rica 3-0 in a friendly in Orlando. That's Thursday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. When we return on America in the Morning, new inductees into the Songwriters Hall of Fame may surprise you after these messages. This is America in the Morning. One of the stars of Spider-Man went viral on TikTok for his responses when he was stopped by a person at random on a New York City street. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr explains.
Award-winning actor Willem Dafoe went viral this week after a congenial interaction during a man-on-the-street interview in New York City.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an actor.
Really? What's your name? Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, Willem.
Influencer Faraz Zadran, who is known by his social media handle Khan, interviews random people along Bleecker Street. His segment, What Do You Do for a Living, poses various questions to people about their jobs. He ran into Defoe and asked him the normal lineup of questions.
What do you like about your job?
It's always different. Nothing's ever the same.
TikTok users enjoyed the quick interview, while many of them noted how nice and accommodating the Oscar-nominated actor was.
How do you want to be remembered?
I don't think about that.
Zadran played it off as if he did not know Defoe, though he has a history of attempting interviews with celebrities before, including Bradley Cooper last June and Adam Sandler last September.
What do you do for a living?
How you doing, brother?
How's it going? We'll make this quick. 2 questions, I'll let you go.
Done, bro. I did it. We made it.
Defoe is one of the more recognizable actors working today, with a face he admitted a year ago to Willie Geist on NBC's Today's Sunday Sit-Down.
I've learned I have a distinctive face, something that I didn't know.
Recognizable or not, we can all learn from Defoe's positive demeanor with interactions among strangers.
What do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time thinking beyond tomorrow.
I'm Kevin Carr.
The leader of music's Parliament Funkadelic and also the Doobie Brothers are among new members of the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Jennifer King reports.
It takes at least 20 years of notable music to get into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and now we know which gifted musicians have been named this year. English songwriter Tony Macaulay gets his due. He's known for such classics as the Foundation's Build Me Up Buttercup. George Clinton is in. The Parliament Funkadelic band leader is already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Grammys in 2019. Ashley Gorley is credited in the recent Morgan Wallen Post Malone song, I Had Some Help. He's a country music hitmaker with 80 #1 radio singles to his name. Familiar favorites, the Doobie Brothers and the Beach Boys' Mike Love were named, and legendary producer Rodney Darkchild Jerkins, who's worked with Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and Beyonce. The class of 2025 will be inducted in June at a ceremony in New York. I'm Jennifer King.
America in the Morning for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.